What's up, guys? Max here, back with a brand new episode of the Scuttlebutt Show, and I hope you're all doing great out there, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope you're doing well. What's up to everybody in the chat, everybody listening on the podcast, and everybody here from TikTok? Larry D, Game Hopes, Harry Lime Pie, H-Na. We have, MC in the house, Lorcana O'Donohue. Welcome. It's great to see you. Eviana, everybody. It is awesome to be back this week with a brand new full week of episodes, and we have a lot to go over. I'm going to share with you guys what I'm thinking about everything going on in Ukraine today, and I'm glad that I waited. I know, much to the dismay of the audience out there, I didn't immediately react and blab about everything going on the internet instantly as soon as I possibly could. Couldn't wait to get on my Twitter and my Insta and my TikTok and tell you guys what's really going on the streets of Ukraine and Russia and the truth and all this. I mean, like everybody is, it's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing to see everyone, especially here in the United States, take to the internet to tell everyone how it really is, to retweet and share things that have since been debunked. Even this morning, I'm going to share with you guys some breaking news just to show how murky the waters can be when you're talking about information off the battlefield. I mean, even in my experience on deployment, you're hearing one thing from your buddy on the radio. It's totally bad information. It's going to change every second of every day, every minute. The situation is going to be updated, and anything could happen at any point in time. And I think that that's extremely important for us to remember as patient and compassionate onlookers as Americans. You know, in many cases, stuff that I've seen on the internet, it's like, how dare we? How dare we as Americans talk as citizens, as private citizens, to talk about this like it's our problem, like it's our fault, or as if it's or as if we could point a finger at one side of the political aisle or the other. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I've got tons of stuff to talk about and to go over. But the first thing I want to say is, of course, I feel inspired. I feel, watching what's happening in Ukraine, I feel inspired by the resistance that the people of Ukraine have put up against Russians, men and women and young people and old people fighting alongside each other, arming citizens to defend against the Russian invasion. We've heard stories of heroics out of the Ukrainian military to defend against the Russian invasion. When that started last week, and we see artillery, bombs, airstrikes, air-to-air, dogfights, tanks rolling in. I saw a tank roll over a civilian vehicle trying to flee the city. At this point, Ukraine can't lose, in my opinion, and I'll explain. Ukraine cannot lose this war. They could lose every battle, and they'll win the war. It's just a matter of how much pain and suffering has to be incurred for the ultimate outcome to befall. And I say that because what Ukraine has done over the weekend, over the week, is shown the world the horrors and war crimes that the Russian military has already committed. And because of that, Russia can't win. There's no path to victory for Russia because they've already shown us who they really are. And so now that we've seen it, there's no outcome in which Russia prevails here. It's just a matter of how long and how violent it has to be. I feel inspired. I feel inspired by the president of Ukraine standing and fighting alongside his people. I feel inspired by the UFC fighter who's also the mayor, I believe, something like that, of one of the towns who stayed to fight. Vice News has been on the streets of Moscow as well as Ukraine, getting arrested in Moscow, attending anti-war protests that the Russian people are putting on. I feel bad for the Russian people who are exposed to nothing but state-run propaganda media. I think something like 75% of the Russian people are pro-invasion of Ukraine, and they blame Ukraine, and they feel like it's a path to defense of Russia to invade Ukraine, and while the other quarter are staunchly opposed. And I feel bad for people who are opposed, who will be suppressed by the government. How lucky are we as Americans that faced in a crisis like this, we can express ourselves, express our thoughts and our disdain for what's going on with the government whenever we need to. Luckily here, we should be completely unified, universally rallying behind Ukraine, yet I feel like we're not. people are politicizing it, using it for their own personal gain. That side of it's a disaster. But with the world coming to support the forces of Ukraine with supplies, including Stinger missiles, which are surface-to-air missiles to defend against air attacks, and food and weapons and supplies, and now even manpower. It's something that we're going to talk about here in a minute. I don't see how Ukraine can lose. Just a matter of time. My greatest fear is Russia realizes that their actions in Ukraine have caused them to lose in the world, lose as a power in the world. What they've done, what their military has done to the people of Ukraine will never be forgotten and will likely never be forgiven as far as the government and leadership of Russia goes. And when they realize that, how desperate are they willing to get? That's my question, and that's will wait to be seen. What I want to say, too, humbly, very humbly, is in the past 7 days, Ukraine has faced a military power that the United States hasn't faced since maybe Korea. The United States hasn't faced enemy fighter jets, frequent dogfights, enemy tanks, artillery. The United States has yet to face an enemy like this in our lifetimes. Maybe in Iraq, you could make arguments that Saddam's regime had armored vehicles and long-range weapons, but nothing like what Russia has. Not comparable at all. And the United States quickly dispatched much of what Iraq had to work with. So for the people of Ukraine who've courageously stood in the face of that kind of threat and are standing strong today on the streets of Kiev, nothing but respect and honor for those people. And no sooner did I finish having a conversation with my in-laws yesterday, my wife's parents, talking about what I just said about Russia having shown their evil on the streets of Ukraine. That's already been broadcast over the internet, captured with phones, broadcast over the free internet. And by free, I mean freedom to put things on the internet as opposed to somewhere like Russia where the government will suppress that kind of stuff. No sooner did I get off the phone with them talking about how I believe before long we'll see Russian leaders, including Vladimir Putin, potentially on trial for war crimes, than did I see this. The ICC may investigate possible war crimes after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's the International Criminal Court. This is early, and there's nothing to really, concrete report here. But the International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan on Friday expressed his concern over the Russian invasion of Ukraine and said his court may investigate possible war crimes in the country. He says, I've closely been following the recent developments in and around Ukraine with increasing concern. I remind all sides conducting hostilities on the territory of Ukraine that my office may exercise its jurisdiction and investigate any act of genocide, crime against humanity, or war crime committed within Ukraine. Russia is not a member of the ICC and has opposed the case, but the court says it can investigate alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed on the territory of Ukraine, regardless of the nationality of the alleged perpetrator. So once Russia entered Ukraine, they're saying that they do fall into the jurisdiction of the ICC. So hopefully what we'll see is as the conflict draws down, we'll see people held accountable. Now, what is truly, obvious to me, that I don't see a lot of people talking about is that just like when America invaded Afghanistan and held for 20 years, just like when Russia invaded Afghanistan before they eventually were defeated there, Russia has invaded Ukraine and citizens are resisting. That's called an insurgency. And as long as there are citizens to resist Russia in Ukraine, they can never win. You cannot beat a determined insurgency who won't give up. You just cannot root out every fighter. And eventually, when you realize that, and as that force grows with every battle, with every attack, as that force grows and as people will grow to join a Ukrainian insurgency or support it internationally, Russia will eventually lose so much in money, manpower, time, that they'll leave on their own. And it's to me at this point clear that Russia cannot win in Ukraine, despite how many battles and how many casualties they cause. Another thing I want to talk about is over the weekend, as people were jumping as fast as they can onto their phones and computers to give their hot takes on the issue, people who really shouldn't be offering up any opinion at all, were sharing footage from video games, old photos, bad gouge, unconfirmed reports, and more. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person who shares information that is unverified, unconfirmed, completely wrong, or completely out, not even reality. It's from literally footage from a video game like DCS or War Thunder, and tweet it saying, look at the brave people of Ukraine, and I'm retweeting a video game footage. It's ridiculous. We did get some good info. So as that stuff starts to come out, I hope everyone begins to question everything. So we did get some good info, and we did get some info from the government of Ukraine and from the United States government that they've claimed to be verified. I don't think any story has spread wider or seemed to have inspired more engagement than Snake Island. And I'm about to show you a video that could be upsetting. So please, if you think you might be bothered by this, you can turn this off now. But Snake Island is a small base island off the coast of Ukraine in the Black Sea. When a small contingent of soldiers who were manning that island were a Russian warship came alongside the island to declare that they must surrender. And what happened next has made waves all around the world. So let's watch this video. This is from the soldiers at Snake Island apparently uploaded this video, and we'll talk about it. Ukrainian border guards were told to surrender under threat of attack. So what you just heard there, if you're listening on the podcast, was a Russian warship doing a call out requesting that the guards on that island surrender and capitulate. After their announcement ended, you hear a Ukrainian soldier say, well, this is it. Should I tell him to go F himself? And then comes over his own PA system and says, Russian warship, go F yourself. We've been told that after that those soldiers were killed in a bombardment from that ship onto the island. Wow. You know, that is inspiring to hear, that sort of defiance and courage. And then just this morning, researching what I'm going to say about Ukraine, Ukrainian border guards may have survived the reported last stand on Snake Island. Information is fluid coming out of Ukraine. Ukrainian border guards who insulted Russian forces this week in a recorded exchange, this is from the Washington Post, by the way, that went viral may not have been killed, Ukrainian officials said Saturday, contradicting an earlier claim by Ukrainian President Zelensky. The State Border Guard Service of Ukraine said in a statement posted to its Facebook page that the guards may be alive. After Russian media reported that they were taken as prisoners from their base on Snake Island in the Black Sea to Sevastopol, a port city that Russia controls on the Crimean Peninsula. Zelensky cited the guard's story Thursday while highlighting Ukrainian resistance to a Russian invasion, saying that 13 guards had died heroically. He said he would recognize each with the title of Hero of Ukraine. May the memory of those who gave their lives for Ukraine live forever, he said. The guards' actions drew international attention after the audio that we just listened to was published online and on a website of the Ukrainian news. A Ukrainian official confirmed its authenticity to the Washington Post on Thursday. In the clip, the Russian voice warns that the guards will be attacked, and they reply, "Go F yourself." Ukrainian officials said in the Facebook post Saturday that the border guards were attacked by both Russian aircraft and weapons from the ship, and that Ukrainian officials lost communication with the guards after the infrastructure was destroyed. It now appears it was assumed the guards were killed. This has happened many times in war. People have been assumed to be dead, an unknowable number of times in war. Ukrainian officials said Saturday they were working to determine what happened to the guards and praised them for digging in. It was not clear how many guards were on the island when the attack began or if there were any killed. I heard as few as 13, but it could be now I don't know. The border guards' message for the Russians spread rapidly, with many comparing it to the famous rallying cries from earlier wars. Major General Mick Ryan, an Australian military officer, compared it to nuts, a response that then U.S. Army Brigadier General Anthony Micallef sent to Nazi forces who saw an American surrender during the Battle of Bastogne in World War II. Today, none of us will ever forget what these servants of their nation did there. The Kiev Post reported Saturday that the message for the Russian ship appeared on a digital road sign hanging over a Ukrainian highway. So their actions at Snake Island, regardless of what happened, inspired an incredible amount of resistance and zeal from the Ukrainian people and the people around the world, to be frank. But maybe they're alive, or maybe not. Maybe that's all Russian propaganda that those soldiers are alive, and that Russia doesn't have them, that they are dead. But it could be a something to leverage, a chess piece to use to negotiate later, that they have the soldiers from Snake Island, and maybe they don't. So, I just saw a video, a very, violent video right before the show started of a Ukrainian airstrike on what are claimed to be the miles of Russian forces lined up outside of Kiev. Lined up just in a line, no dispersion, lined up on both sides of the road, Russian vehicles and troops, when an airstrike dropped a weapon, I don't know what weapon, I think it was a bomb, on one of the vehicles that caused a pretty good amount of casualties. I saw it on Task and Purpose's Facebook page if anyone wants to go check that out. There are videos of war being shared all over the internet right now, and I urge you to take those very seriously, because what you're witnessing are the last, in many cases, horrific moments of people's lives fighting for their freedom or fighting for their corrupt government. Some ways you could look at this as murderers and victims. You could look at it in many, many different ways. But many reluctant soldiers are being killed now every day. I've seen reports of a battalion of Russian troops surrendering to Ukrainians because they didn't want to fight at all. They didn't think it was right. I've seen reports of, the ghost of Kiev, a fighter pilot who's downed 6 Russian aircraft over Ukrainian airspace. I don't know. I really don't know what to think anymore. But the most important thing is that I know that I don't know. And I want to really impress that upon you all. I really want you to know that you don't know. There's so much stuff being shared at such a rapid pace with no confirmation, people who don't really care about the truth. There are people out there, especially in the United States, who would tweet anything, say anything just for attention at this point, and it's really despicable. Really bad. Really bad. Makes me really sad to see. So there's a lot to think about here and unpack. And I've seen, and a lot of people offering up their opinions. But I'll tell you, from where I'm standing, and what I've always thought, is that very few people's opinions on these matters are important to me or that I take seriously. If you're not willing to go stand in the arena, so to speak, if you're not willing to go where it is, and you are just willing to talk about it and give your 2 cents, then I just can't take you all that seriously. And I'm not saying I'm going to go sign up to go fight for Ukraine. What I am telling you is maybe don't take what I'm saying so seriously. Please don't take any one person on the internet as an authority over what people are experiencing on the ground fighting for their lives. It's a much different experience, of course. But maybe you do. Maybe you need to go. Maybe you can't not. Maybe you want to be like Sean Penn, who's over there filming a documentary right now and has been over there for days, saying how horrible it is. Can't wait to see what he's making. If that's you, then want to go fight for Ukraine? Here's what to do. Ukraine has laid out a simple, I think, 6-step process so that you can get boots on ground in Ukraine. This is it. You can find this on militarytimes.com. Maybe you want to go. Under siege by its much larger and more powerful neighbor, Ukraine has been so far able to slow down Russia's attack, a senior U.S. defense official said Sunday morning, but there is a long fight ahead. The Russians have been frustrated, they have been slowed, they have been stymied, and they have been resisted by Ukrainians, and to some degree, they've done it to themselves in terms of their fuel and logistics and sustainment problems, the official said, speaking anonymously to reporters. But as I said earlier, we would expect them to learn from these issues and adapt to them and try to overcome them. So I think we all need to be very sober here, recognizing that this is combat, and combat is ugly, it's messy, it's bloody, and it is not wholly predictable. And to that end, Ukraine is calling on foreigners who want to help. Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky has created the International Legion of Territorial Defense of Ukraine. It is a new effort, Ukrainian official tells Military Times, to help bolster the fight. Several veterans have reached out, finding out what they can do to help, and this is it. This is the answer. Before you go, this is what you need to know, according to the official who spoke to anonymously in an interview that was repeatedly interrupted by ongoing airstrikes to show the kinetic amount of activity that's going on over there. Here's what veterans, other U.S. citizens, or anyone else interested in helping out needs to know. Step 1. This is it. 6 steps to go fight for Ukraine if this is something you're interested in. Maybe it is, and I commend you if you feel like this is something you must do. Apply to the Embassy of Ukraine in your country with the intention of joining the Foreign Legion of Territorial Defense of Ukraine. Ask a diplomat for details. Applicants can visit the embassy in person, call, or send an email to start the process. Get your documents in order, including an ID, a passport to travel abroad, documents confirming military service or work with law enforcement agencies, and participation in combat. Arrive at the embassy with documents for an interview with the defense attaché and the settlement of any visa issues with the consul. Write an application for enlistment in the territorial defense of the armed forces of Ukraine for military service under a contract on a voluntary basis. So you'll enlist. Receive instructions. Step 5, receive instructions on how to arrive in Ukraine and what to bring. Military clothing, equipment, helmet, body armor, combat gloves, tactical glasses, belts, and vests are recommended, not obligatory, the official said. But a foreign soldier in his national uniform looks good for the International Legion. You don't want to become a propaganda piece, though. You do not want to appear to be an active duty Marine fighting alongside Ukrainians. You don't want to appear to be an actual active duty soldier, sailor, airman, guardian. That would be not very helpful. Could cause irreparable harm to the mission. Step 6, go to Ukraine in an organized manner. Representatives of Ukrainian embassies, consulates abroad, and territorial defense in Ukraine will provide assistance on the way. Contacts will be provided at the Embassy of Ukraine in your country. So there it is. If you want to go fight for Ukraine, you now can. They are asking for help. And like I was saying about an insurgency in Ukraine, this battle could go on for potentially, don't think that this couldn't go on for 20 years. At this point, there is no reason to believe that anything's going to end tomorrow or next week or next year. More people are deploying. More people are readying. The international community is rallying behind Ukraine, offering support in many different ways. I wouldn't assume anything at this point. I would just keep listening and keep prepping. Keep preparing yourselves for a long, drawn-out war. I was hesitant to speak like this before because so many times we've been up against this wall only to have things quell. But this time it's not. This time it's real. And so it is time to really start considering sustained conflict. I don't know. But let me check in on the comments here. It's been a minute since I have on this episode, as I normally always do. And there's a couple people here I haven't seen before. I want to say what's up to Craven Drip 8435. Been seeing footage from the 2014 conflict more commonly, and it's been hard to see actual reports. Yep, that's great about misinformation or nefarious information spreading. Let's see. Hiram, Max, forgive me for not remembering, but what exactly did you do working with sea, air, land combat teams and mission specialists? I was a drone operator. I was a drone pilot. Junior Dell, great to see you. There's a video of the guards being handed Russian MREs and water bottles and loaded on buses. Unknown if it was real. Thank you for that information. That's from Snake Island. That's exactly the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear, MC says. That's a great tip. And I hope you guys, if you listen to me talk, I hope you know that that's pretty much always what my position is here on everything. As soon as I saw the video of the column, I thought I've seen too many videos of IEDs to know how this goes down. Yeah, I don't think Ukrainian roads are lined with IEDs or if they had any time to put in anything like that, but it was an airstrike waiting to happen, that's for sure. My son's Amphib group deploys this month, Larry D says. God bless your son, and I hope everyone stays safe. Let's see. Techno Ruffle says I give it 3 weeks tops. That's what they said about the war in Afghanistan. Let's see. Reminder that if you guys have bad toenails, use toenail clippers, Curse Boy says. You don't want to get trench foot. All Ruskies probably feel bad in thinking a rocket cages protect against laws and javelins. Hiram says, Max, will they take me? I have a combined criminal and psychiatric and history. Do they really think they would take me? You can apply. You would just have to write them an email, I guess, and see what they say. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man. I can't say. I haven't sent the email myself, so I'm not really sure. Tough choice for a lot of people out there who I'm sure a lot of people out there have, talked a big game up to this point, and now there's your opportunity. So we'll see how many people go through with it. I'm sure some people will. We're going to talk about some people who are later on in the episode. But I do have a couple normal Scuttlebutt Show stories. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on and do a couple of normal Scuttlebutt Show stories, and this is what I'll do from this point forward. I know I've talked about not being sure how I'll proceed if there is a ground war in Ukraine and how I'll feel about doing my show. But this is what I'll do. I'll share good information where I can. I'll share my thoughts where I feel it's appropriate, and I will continue doing the Scuttlebutt Show for now, and at least giving us all a community to come to at 1800 Pacific Standard Time and have a thoughtful conversation with thoughtful people about these issues. How does that sound for you guys? So I have here a story out of the Marine Corps, which I have a couple actually, kind of similar but unrelated. So check this out. Marine Corps Humvee catches fire on North Carolina road. You ever just driving around in a car and it combusts? It bursts out in flames? Oh my gosh. So you don't want to be those Marines. But luckily, none were injured after a Marine Corps Humvee in Jacksonville, North Carolina caught fire on Thursday as it was heading to a range. Marine Corps spokeswoman confirmed the vehicle belonged to the 2nd Marine Div, 2nd MARDIV, based out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. First Lieutenant Sidney Merkins told Marine Corps Times in an email. The incident affected traffic in the area. So if you were in traffic out there, it might have been for this Humvee burst into flames. The high-mobility, multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, Humvee, was driving to a range and then pulled over when the driver noticed the vehicle overheating and exited prior to it catching fire. The division is currently investigating the cause of the accident. Though scheduled to be replaced by the JLTV, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, Humvees are still widely used around the Marine Corps. In January, 2 Marines were killed in that 7-ton truck accident over there in Jacksonville. So obviously people are probably having flashbacks to that right now. So we have a video here from this of what happened. So let's check this out and kind of see what we see. No sound for this video. So just a bunch of Marines milling about smartly. Oh my gosh. So this vehicle looks like it was in a pretty hot fire. The tires melted. The metal on the hood of the Humvees melted down. It's pretty catastrophic. It's a pretty good disaster there. So, wow, I'm surprised at the extent to which that vehicle burned up. Oh my goodness. You know, one thing that can start a vehicle fire like that are battery fires, which a lot of times people will be carrying, very, very unstable batteries around with their military equipment, or batteries that have been recently bounced around or damaged or dropped or something. So I don't know if it's a battery fire. It looks like it's originated around the engine block. So we'll see if Motor Tee had anything to say about that when they were doing some maintenance recently or something. I'm sure that'll be a embarrassing moment for them if they find out that they failed to discover a oil leak or something like that, faulty equipment on the last PMS that allowed that vehicle to go out and catch fire, putting everybody at risk. So I got another one. You would think that I would have one story of Marine Corps equipment catching on fire a day. How could I have two? But I do. Here's the other one. Small cache of Marine Corps weapons burns up in a fire. Careful in your tents. Those things are fire traps waiting to happen. A literal small arms fire broke out Thursday during a routine training exercise at the Mountain Warfare Training Center in Bridgeport, California. You can see here in like a little yellow, bathtub thing, a pile of burnt up weapons. Holy smokes. Pardon the pun. While 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines were conducting training, a tent fire broke out in the morning. While the blaze was contained by the MWTC Fire Department, a number of small arms were incinerated. That's quite a loss there. Marines, they're heartbroken to see their guns burn up. We would like to thank the MWTC Fire Department for their rapid response and their quick effort and efficient containment of the fire. Spokesman for 3rd Marines told Marine Corps Times. The cause of the fire and measure of the loss of equipment is still under investigation. Where Firewatch has yet to determine, where Firewatch has yet to be determined. Perhaps the cache was lit to toast marshmallows, Semper Fire boys. So they don't know if anybody was on watch. There should be somebody usually watching a weapon. So the standard is no weapons, no military weapons are ever supposed to be left unattended. They should always be under Firewatch. You would usually never, ever, ever leave weapons unattended. I say that kind of air quotes because, things happen. But whatever caused that fire and wherever the person was who should have been there to observe and defend those guns, we'll see, I guess, if we ever hear anything about it. But yeah, it's too bad to see a bunch of good weapons, lost in the fire. Lost a lot of good guys out there. Lost a lot of good guns out there. Playing for the Yankees? Oh yeah, trades and stuff, Little Wedding Crashers quote. Let's see. Trust no one, not even yourself, Techno Ruffle says. I'm sending my positive vibes. My wife's family is from Kiev, Larry says. Yeah, I hope that they're staying safe. Marines are on fire and not in a good way. Cold Comfort, 3rd Mardev on Okinawa. Yeah, 3rd Marines on Okinawa, yeah. Did they spontaneously combust? Good question. I don't know. It would be pretty unlikely that anything in those M4s would have caught on fire. That seems pretty low odds there, but it could be something, in those Alaskan tents that people stay in. They have something, daisy chaining power strips or something like that, like a classic safety poster situation playing out. I don't know. A few weeks ago, we had a story on the show about a Marine who killed his stepfather for beating his mother. Do you guys remember this? Killed his stepfather for beating his mother. Tough one. Wow, tough one. And I said that, the case against him felt pretty strong because they had said it was premeditated and that he showed up and the story did seem to, the information in the story did seem to support that. Now, if all of that's true, if everything that we heard as far as his motivation was true, you might not feel too bad for the stepfather, but, justice system is going to run its course. And you might find this next story to be good news if all that was true. Marine deserter not guilty by insanity in stepfather's shooting death. So he's been determined too insane as to be guilty of shooting his stepfather after leaving the Marine Corps to go back to his hometown to defend his mother. Now, that's there's a lot to unpack, I guess, here, because they also call him a deserter in the headline. But the story is he left to go, go home and check on his mom. But now it sounds like he's like he's been deemed to be crazy too. So I don't know what to make of all this. A Virginia judge has found a Marine veteran not guilty by reason of insanity in the shooting death of his abusive stepfather. Former Corporal Michael Brown, 24, faced a murder trial recently when both the prosecution and defense agreed to let a judge decide if Brown was sane on the morning of November 9th, 2019, when he shot and killed his stepfather. He will no longer face prison for the death, but instead will be committed to a psychiatric hospital until the court approves his release. His lawyer, Deborah Caldwell Bono, said that she will continue to represent Brown as he receives mental health treatment and evaluations. She said her client's state of mind has been clear since he has been in custody and on psychiatric medication. As far as his release, that will be up to both medical professionals and a ruling from the court. We're hopeful that it won't take too long, she said. He didn't harm anyone while on the run. He didn't commit any other crimes. He was AWOL or, UA or deserted from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. He was a combat engineer. He shot Rodney Brown, 54, and then fled the scene. He evaded police, triggered lockdowns, and then was found November 27th, a couple weeks after the incident, in the attic of the same home where he killed his stepfather. As they say, people always return to the scene of the crime. When he exited that attic, he carried with him gibberish writings and a book with sentimental scraps of messages from his then wife. That's sad. After reading reports from the defense and prosecution expert witnesses, which both agreed he was not sane during the shooting, Franklin County, Virginia judge ruled he suffered from blackouts and lost time and dissociative amnesia. Dissociative amnesia involves the temporary loss of recall of memory caused by dissociation, can be voluntary or involuntary, and is often a result of psychological trauma. Brown appeared that he had not been able to appreciate the nature of his actions due to a mental disease or defect. He was physically present but not conscious, testified Sharon Kelly, a clinical psychologist. The prosecutor in the case, A.J. Dudley, had argued that Brown concocted a scheme to leave his post and fake a psychotic break so they could kill Rodney Brown, but they argued against that. Ultimately, the prosecution and defense did agree that he should be determined not guilty by insanity. Wow. It also says here that his attorney said it was her first case in 40 years that ended in a not guilty by insanity. So there's more to the story there about, his past, his background, and all that stuff. But I just want to give you guys this update because, you might find this to be a victory for him or in the, defense of his mother against the abusive stepfather. Maybe it was that, everyone pretty much agreed like this guy was a POS, the stepfather, and ultimately the outcome was for the best. And so allowing him to plead insanity, and then they were able to conclude the case as far as the justice system is concerned would be the best outcome. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll leave that one, put that one to bed. So everything going on in Ukraine, especially now that I just gave you guys the info on how you can get involved, it was only a matter of time, you guys. It was only a matter of time. And I had a feeling that something like this would be happening. I did. My gut told me that something like this was already happening in Ukraine. And that was confirmed with this story right here. Oh, man, good one here for you guys. Veteran nonprofit says it rescued dozens of Americans trapped in Ukraine. Project Dynamo. Let's go. Have you guys heard about this? So Project Dynamo, a group of American volunteers, say they successfully rescued at least 33 American citizens trapped in Ukraine during the opening days of the Russian invasion. The quote here, "I'm doing 90 miles per hour doing a rescue in the middle of World War III. That's how it's going." Project Dynamo co-founder Brian Stern told Military Times Thursday from Ukraine when asked how operations were developing. The organization drove 24 people to safety on Thursday and evacuated another 9 people on Friday, according to Matthew Herring, co-founder of Project Dynamo. Executing an evacuation in the middle of a conventional war is no small feat, and as the situation deteriorates in Ukraine, Dynamo says the requests for help continue to mount. In the last 24 hours, Herring says the backlog of Americans seeking Dynamo's help securing an exit from Ukraine has grown to over 1,000 people. Whoa. It's just a matter of us getting folks organized. He told Military Times, getting them to vehicles and getting them to safety. Herring and Brian Stern created Dynamo as a non-governmental means of evacuating U.S. citizens from Afghanistan. Project Dynamo comprises some 24 volunteers, many of whom are current and former members of the U.S. military. Current? According to a January press release from Dynamo, the organization has evacuated dozens of Americans from Afghanistan since the fall of Kabul to the Taliban in August. Now the group is turning its attention to Americans stranded in Ukraine. As tensions between Russia and Ukraine built to a boiling point in January, Project Dynamo began inserting volunteers into Ukraine to plan a potential rescue. Following the evacuation of the U.S. Embassy last week in the capital of Kyiv, Dynamo began to intensify planning and coordination efforts. When the first explosions began to rock the Ukrainian capital Wednesday, signaling the start of a Russian invasion, Dynamo almost immediately launched its first evacuation run. If there are Americans that need help, then we're the Americans that are going to help them. Ooh, got the chills. The routes to safety, Herring says, are in constant flux as the situation on the ground in Ukraine continues to change. Additionally, all evacuation efforts are limited to the ground due to the ongoing air war inside Ukraine, which is crazy. I don't know what it's like to be targeted by a strike fighter, a jet, military weaponized jet, but that cannot be a good feeling. Right now, we have folks waiting to get into Romania. The border crossings into Poland are super backed up, so we're trying to adjust fires as necessary. Troops in Poland are poised to assist with Americans leaving Ukraine, setting up assembly areas along the border. While tens of thousands of Ukrainians have been fleeing, the Pentagon said that roughly several hundred have been American citizens or those with dual citizenship. It's unclear how many of those people, if any, wound up going through 82nd Airborne Division assembly areas or drove themselves out. Also, the ever-changing ground truth in Ukraine is a challenge for Dynamo's evacuation efforts, according to Herring. The Ukrainian government is sympathetic to Americans on the ground and has done nothing to hinder the evacuation efforts. Only long distances and heavy traffic generated by those fleeing the fighting have hindered Dynamo's operations. With an additional 1,000 Americans seeking an exit from Ukraine through a fluid and violent battlefield, Herring said that on the ground, flexibility will be essential for Project Dynamo moving forward. However, Herring says that no matter what happens, Project Dynamo will keep moving forward. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep going, Herring said. And there's a photo of him up here. Co-founder Brian Stern, that's on the bottom left, driving American citizens out of Ukraine. Whoa. Whoa. Shout out to Project Dynamo. How brave and badass are those folks putting themselves out there as civilians on a rescue operation? A small group of civilians, veterans, and caring people, maybe some reservists or something, putting themselves in harm's way to go rescue Americans trapped in Ukraine. Whoa, that is absolutely awesome. Shout out to those guys. Godspeed. Maybe that's who you want to look up to go join their team. Let's see. Do they have a website? Project Dynamo. Let's see. Let's see what this is. Is there a... here it is. Here's the website. How do you get involved? Donate now. Evacuation request for Ukraine. If you need to be evacuated. Let's see. Create a group. Yep. So you can apply for help there for Afghanistan and Ukraine that they're still helping with. Let's see. More ways to donate. So you can donate here. Not really clear if you can join the team, but yeah, you can donate. So, wow. Shout out to them. Shout out to Project Dynamo. That's really cool. Good for those people over there. There will be, of course, countless numbers of stories like this. There will be more of this coming out as time goes on. For sure. You'll continue to hear stuff like this. So, for now, bravo Zulu to them. There are things happening and have already happened. I can say, without even having any evidence, I can just say that I'm certain that things like that are happening all over Eastern Europe right now, and we just haven't heard about them yet. So as stories come out, it might take 10 years, 20 years for us to hear some of the stories of the events that occurred during this battle and some of the heroics and courageous actions that will come to light and be uncovered. We're still learning things about World War II, Vietnam, Korea. We're learning history, new history all the time. So there's no shortage of stories like that to come. I can't wait to be able to share them as I get more information. Junior Dell says something you can see Tim Kennedy doing. Yeah, for sure. Pineapple Express, right? If it's 1K seeking help, only a matter of time before the government could be involved. Hiram says, that Marine that deserted the military's life may very well never be freed, especially if he's got the Department of the Navy and UCMJ. Yeah. So it depends, I guess. If he's already out of the Marine Corps, then the UCMJ is not really his concern anymore. It says that he's basically implied that he's a civilian in the article. So if he is, then the UCMJ is no longer his concern. Maybe they kind of just admin sept him, which is very likely. It's not like people get called deserter or charged with desertion, although it's really just more like AWOL. And they just get admin sept. It's not like they go to prison for life for desertion or something like that. It's not very common. Curse Boy, are you going to deploy to Taiwan if it's under attack because you're in Japan? Well, I'm not active duty military, but we're actually, PACOM over here. So yeah, if something were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Marines get activated. But that's not even something that I've heard anybody talking about very much. Obviously, there are always alerts and readiness issues regarding China, but nobody's talking about deploying to Taiwan right now. So one more story for today, guys. One more and we're going to get out of here. Monday for me, Sunday for you. It's actually like 80 degrees and sunny outside in Okinawa. So I'm going to go for a walk with my doggo after this wearing my Scuttlebutt Show Promotable T-shirt. Let the world know that you're promotable, which means you're pretty much a dirtbag with your Promotable T-shirt available at scuttlebuttshow.com. There's a little glitch on the website where the shirt appears to be the logo on the front, but the logo is actually on the back. And let me just plug that really quick before I get to the last story today. So I just want you guys to know that we do have a brand new shirt in men's and women's, and it's like my new favorite shirt. It's the Promotable Tee. It's the one that I'm wearing right now, so you guys can see it on me right here on the screen. And it's a really fun T-shirt. The reason it's so fun is because promotable is like a very, average to poor eval that you can get in the military. So you guys can get these in black, green, which might go on with your uniform there, or blue. And the logo's on the back. I don't know why this is glitching out. I got to figure this out. But if you guys are interested in checking out this shirt, it would, of course, mean a lot to me. If you're a member or a patron, you have a 10% discount on the online store. So you guys can use that to get this for about $22 and go check it out. And if you guys do, of course, you're supporting the channel and you're styling and profiling too, because these shirts are all high quality material and designed by me, Scuttlebutt Clothing, right? I'm rocking on the front of my shirt right here. So with that, let's move into our last story of today. Hometown hero. Marine runs across highway to help skydiving plane crash victims. Imagine you're driving home and a plane just crashes next to you up there in Camp Pendleton. So a U.S. Marine was on his way home from Camp Pendleton Thursday when he saw a small plane crash in Oceanside, prompting him to pull over, sprint across the highway, and find a way to help. The aircraft, a Cessna with the skydiving company Go Jump, went down a few hundred feet short of the runway at Oceanside Municipal Airport at 1 p.m. Authorities haven't said what caused the crash, but it came to rest with its nose on the ground and tail in the air. As you guys might remember, I had a friend who was in a plane crash last year, a retired SWIC boat crewman, badly injured, had to hike himself out several miles with intense burns across his body. We had that GoFundMe for him. He's doing well. He's recovering from those injuries. Truly brave himself for dealing with that. Sergeant Morgan Vose, an open water safety coxswain who's based at Camp Pendleton, saw the aircraft go down near the airstrip as he drove home on State Route 76. As soon as it hit, I just immediately pulled over and jumped to 76 and ran over to the crash. The sergeant went streaking across the lanes and reached the crash before first responders. He was able to provide first aid and help keep the pilots calm while they waited for paramedics to arrive. Looking back, Vose said he did what anyone else would do in that situation. Every Marine goes through it in boot camp. It's called CLS, Combat Life Saving. Every Marine knows the basics of medical training. It's just second nature. Officials had not provided an update on the two injured pilots, nor could I find anything else. I was trying to find out more information. One was in moderate condition while one was in critical condition and hospitalized. That's all I could find, is that one of the pilots remained hospitalized after the crash.
This afternoon, we are hearing from the Camp Pendleton Marine who quickly jumped into action to help rescue two men who were hurt when they crashed.
Oh, God.
Jumped into action to help rescue two men who were hurt when they crash-landed their plane in Oceanside yesterday.
And Fox 5's Jason Sloss is in Oceanside with that Marine's story of heroism. Jason.
Hey there. Well, he certainly did an incredible job. Now, the plane was with the skydiving company Go Jump, which has offices right here at the airport. We're told the two men were returning from a skydiving trip. And I just spoke with two people with the company who declined to go on camera for an interview, but tell me the two victims are recovering and doing well.
The Cessna went down just before 1 Thursday afternoon, crash landing a few hundred feet short of the runway at Oceanside Municipal Airport. Sergeant Morgan Vose was on his way home from Camp Pendleton when he saw the plane go down near Highway 76.
It took me about half a second to actually realize what had happened. As soon as it hit, I just immediately pulled.
Yo, that mustache. Dude, Bravo Zulu on that mustache. Is that in regs for the Marine Corps? Oh, man. No, I know it is. I can see it. I don't have to get my ruler out. I don't have to get the Blue Jackets manual out. Bravo Zulu on that. That's a hero's mustache. I don't know if any of this would have been possible if that wasn't there underneath his nose.
Pulled over and jumped the 76 and ran over the crash.
After running across lanes through traffic, the Marine says he saw the plane smash front end and rush to the pilot's side.
As soon as I opened the pilot's door, I started assessing him, seeing what I could do, what I couldn't do, if he was conscious. Noticed he had a pretty severe head wound.
After assessing the pilot's condition, he went to the other side and had to yank the door open to check on the co-pilot.
He was very responsive. He was just confused, banged up, obviously. Nothing major. Just he answered every question that I had. So I just kept talking to him, asking him questions, making sure that he was okay. After I left the scene, I mean, the whole way home, I was just jazzed. I was just kind of shaking, like, oh my gosh, can't believe that happened.
Well, a great response. And the Marine also says that an Army soldier also suddenly appeared to help calm the victims down until paramedics arrived. Again, I'm told that those two crash victims are doing well tonight, and the cause of the crash is under investigation. Live in Oceanside, Jason Sloss, Fox 5 News.
So I wonder, I was waiting for him to hear him say, like, my immediate instinct was to kick the crap out of the plane who had just hurt these two, good Americans. But once I was done pulling the safety, like Street Fighter, I just punched the plane until it burst into flames. So, yeah, bravo, Zulu Marine. Good job. That's pretty cool. I'm glad I got to bring that story to you guys as the last story of today. I love my hometown hero stories. Sergeant Stash, Techno says, Nugget says, police that mustache. Yep. 4-0, not Larry, they have 5-0 sailors now. You can be a 5-0 sailor. It's basically impossible. You can't be a 5-0 sailor. It's a standard that you cannot even achieve. And for some reason, that's the point because that's how the military thinks. But yeah, you can be a 5-0. So a 3-0 is pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Local hero Marine story mustache. Looks like Wyatt Earp style mustache. The mustache game is strong. Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you're doing okay wherever you are. I hope you're being thinking people. I hope you're being critical thinkers. I hope you're challenging everything that you see out there in the media. I hope you're, once you see something, if it sticks with you, give it a couple days and then look it up again and just see what the deal is. Just please go back and check on your information. Just do a better job. And then if you hear somebody spreading something bad, just politely be like, hey, I don't think that's right. Can we take a look at that together? Can you and I research that really quick? Totally two open-minded people and just see what we come up with, have a discussion. It's just, you got to be careful now more than ever. There's a real war going on. And so information, propaganda, misinformation, all that stuff, it's going to be a huge issue in the coming future. So please be vigilant with your minds. I cannot say that strongly enough. Be vigilant intellectually. All right? With all that being said, I look forward to talking to all of you tomorrow, same time, 1800 Pacific Standard Time, with a brand new episode of The Scuttlebutt Show. For now, that's The Scuttlebutt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.